She was known for her grace under pressure. Now Caitlin Clark has completely lost her composure on national television, and the people who were supposed to protect her are nowhere to be found. What happened next changed everything for her fans. Welcome back to WNBA Analysis. If you've been following the Caitlin Clark story this season, what you're about to hear is going to make you angry, because the numbers, the silence, and the timeline don't lie. Stay with me until the end, because there's a twist involving the league's own commissioner that most people still don't know about. Watch that moment again. This isn't ordinary frustration. This is someone who has reached her absolute limit. And the fans reacting to it aren't alone. Across social media, across fan forums, across comment sections, longtime Caitlin Clark supporters say they are walking away from the WNBA. Not because they stopped caring about her, but because they say they can no longer watch what's happening to her. The breaking point, by most accounts, came during a game where Clark visibly lost her composure on the court. Technical fouls, visible frustration, a kind of reaction that felt out of character for someone known for her poise. 4 fans who followed her since her high school days, who watched her dominate college basketball with that trademark smile, seeing this version of her felt like a turning point. Many say they're done. Here's what makes this moment significant. These aren't casual, drive-by viewers. These are the fans who bought League Pass subscriptions specifically to watch Indiana Fever games. Fans who crossed state lines to see her play in person. Fans who bought the jerseys, the merchandise, and helped drive the WNBA's record-breaking 2024 revenue. And now, some of them are publicly saying they're out. One fan summed it up bluntly online. Engagement numbers, in their view, are now a fraction of what they were in 2024, and they see it as tied directly to how the league has handled the physical treatment Clark has faced on the court, including the frustration of hearing that the league initially wasn't planning to suspend Alyssa Thomas after a hard foul. For a player who has generated enormous value for the league, that response, fans argue, sends a troubling signal. The people running the league haven't shown up for her. That's the core issue fans keep coming back to. The physical play that critics say crosses the line from competitive to something more troubling, and a league response that, in their eyes, amounted to almost nothing. When Alyssa Thomas threw an elbow that could have caused a serious injury, the league's initial decision was no suspension, just a standard flagrant foul review after the fact. Think about what that communicates. Clark is generating millions in revenue for this league. Her games have drawn over 3 million viewers on national broadcasts, while games without her have struggled to crack 500,000. She has, almost single-handedly, made the WNBA relevant to a mainstream sports audience for the first time in its history. And when someone takes what fans call a cheap shot at her, the commissioner reportedly hasn't even attended one of her games in person, let alone stepped in with the kind of discipline that would send a message. That detail keeps resurfacing in fan discussions. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has, by multiple accounts, never attended a single Indiana Fever game, not during the regular season when Clark was breaking rookie records, not during the playoffs when the Fever made their first postseason appearance in years. To Clark supporters, that's not an oversight. That's a statement. Contrast that with how NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has talked about her. During an onstage conversation with Andrew Ross Sorkin at the CNBC Game Plan Summit, Silver said he has come to know Caitlin really well, calling her an incredible player and an incredible person. He also said she's become something of a political football in this country, adding that he thinks that's incredibly unfair to her, and that he doesn't believe the core issue is really about officiating. Silver was also direct about the state of officiating in the league. Asked whether the WNBA needs to improve its officiating, his answer was simple. No doubt about it. That acknowledgement carries weight because it's coming from the commissioner of the most successful basketball league in the world. He knows what strong officiating looks like. He knows what player protection looks like. And from the outside, he's watching the WNBA struggle with both. But here's the complication. Adam Silver doesn't run the WNBA. He can offer commentary. He can praise Clark publicly. But Cathy Engelbert and her team are the ones responsible for implementing actual change. And so far, critics argue there's been little urgency. No major officiating reforms, no dramatically increased suspensions for dangerous plays, and no strong public statement standing behind Clark when she's faced criticism and scrutiny on and off the court. The contrast in tone is hard to miss. Silver keeps praising her, acknowledging the unfair scrutiny she faces. Engelbert, by comparison, has largely stuck to general corporate language about growing the game, without directly addressing what Clark has meant for the league's growth, or standing up for her when it mattered most. And that brings us to the question a lot of fans are asking but the league itself won't touch directly. Why do some veteran players seem to target Clark on the court? It doesn't appear to be about her playing style. It's not that she plays dirty or disrespectfully. It's that fans have shown up for her in numbers the league hasn't seen before. And for veterans who've spent a decade in this league, who've won championships and made all-star teams while playing in front of half-empty arenas for a fraction of today's salaries, that shift can be hard to sit with. Suddenly there are 17,000 fans in the building. Suddenly the league is signing a billion-dollar media rights deal. Suddenly charter flights are approved. Suddenly salaries are rising league-wide. In theory that should be something to celebrate. Clark's popularity has, by most accounts, raised the entire league's profile. But some observers believe a subset of players and staff have taken it personally instead, rather than accepting that star power is unpredictable and that Clark simply connected with a wider audience in a way others hadn't yet. This is where the coaching situation becomes impossible to separate from Clark's visible frustration on the court. Stephanie White arrived in Indiana with enormous expectations. A former Fever player, a championship-winning coach, someone who was supposed to understand the culture. Instead, by fan accounts, the team has become difficult to watch. That's not exaggeration. It's what fans who loved this roster in 2024 are saying openly. The pace has slowed. The offensive system, according to critics, doesn't maximize Clark's strengths. The defensive schemes have confused viewers. And most tellingly, there's a growing perception among fans that the visible warmth between coach and franchise player, the kind you could see between Clark and her rookie-year coach, Christie Sides, simply isn't there this season. We can't read minds and we don't know what happens behind closed doors. But fans watch body language during timeouts, post-game interviews and public appearances, and many say the chemistry that should exist between a franchise player and her head coach doesn't look the same anymore. One widely shared fan post captured the mood. A longtime supporter who says she attended 15 home games across 2024 and 2025 wrote that she hasn't spent a dime supporting the team in 2026, tagging the organization, Clark, and the coaching staff directly in her message. Other fans responded with the same sentiment: canceled trips, canceled plans, a shared sense that something about the experience had changed. Social media engagement around the Indiana Fever has reportedly dropped to roughly a fifth of what it was during the 2024 season, a steep decline by any measure. Engagement metrics matter because they're often a leading indicator of overall fan investment. When people stop liking, commenting, and sharing, it usually means emotional investment is fading, and historically that pattern tends to show up next in ticket sales, merchandise, and viewership. In 2024, the Fever had something special. The games were exciting. Clark was putting up historic rookie numbers. The team chemistry looked real. Fans felt connected to the story unfolding in front of them. This season, many fans say that spark is gone. The offense feels stagnant to them. Clark, in their view, looks more frustrated and more isolated on the court than she did as a rookie. Now let's talk business, because this is where the story stops being just about basketball. When Clark plays in a nationally televised game, WNBA broadcasts have averaged well over 1.5 million viewers. When she doesn't play, that number has reportedly dropped to around 400,000, a difference of roughly 1 million viewers tied to a single player's presence on the court. That matters enormously to the league's media partners. CBS, ESPN, and Amazon collectively committed $2.2 billion over 11 years for WNBA broadcast rights, a deal signed in the summer of 2024, right as Clark's popularity was surging. Networks saw those ratings and bet that the league could sustain that level of interest. That's exactly why the stakes are so high. If Clark were seriously injured because of insufficiently enforced player safety rules, those numbers could disappear quickly. If frustration ever pushed her towards stepping away from the game, the same risk applies. And if more fans like the ones speaking out online decide they've had enough, the erosion could continue gradually, one canceled trip and one unfollowed account at a time. Scheduling decisions have added fuel to the fire too. On more than one occasion this season, the Fever have sat Clark for a non-televised game and played her the next night on a nationally broadcast game. A decision that might make sense from a pure rest and recovery standpoint, but one that frustrates broadcast partners who paid billions largely on the strength of her drawing power. When she doesn't play in a showcase game, the data suggests, roughly 1 million viewers turn off their televisions. So here's where things stand. Caitlin Clark, the player many credit with pulling the WNBA into the mainstream, is, by the accounts of many of her most loyal fans, being worn down by a combination of on-court physicality, organizational turbulence in Indiana, and a league office that critics say has been slow to visibly stand behind her. Fans who supported her through college and into the pros say they're walking away, not because they stopped caring, but because they say it's become too hard to watch. Adam Silver sees the problem from the outside and has said the quiet part out loud more than once. Cathy Engelbert and the WNBA front office have yet to make a similarly clear public statement. And until they do, this story isn't going away. If you've made it this far, it's because you actually care about this game, and about the players who make it worth watching. Stories like this one only get told when people like you are willing to sit with them, share them, and keep the conversation going. So if this hit home for you, do me one favor, hit subscribe. Not for me, for her, for the fans who feel unheard, and for the future of a league that deserves better than silence. Every subscription tells the WNBA that fans are paying attention, that we notice when players are protected and when they're not. So join the WNBA analysis family, hit that bell, and let's keep holding this league accountable, together.